This lesson is about shifting the curves and the effect that a shift of either demand or supply or both have on the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity. So let's start with an increase in demand. Increased demand to the right. We now have demand curve 1 and demand curve 2. Now I shifted it to the right, shows an increase in demand. Now we have a new equilibrium point where demand 2 meets our supply curve, which did not change. So we now have a new price and a new quantity. Remember, the point of origin is 0, 0, and then going up means increasing, going to the right is going to be increasing as well. So we notice that price has gone up, as well as quantity has also increased. So when we shift demand increasing, both price and quantity increase as well. Now if we decide to do the opposite, it's going to have the exact opposite effect. So if we have our demand 2 curve drawn to the left, we now have our new equilibrium point, our new equilibrium price labeled as price 2, our new equilibrium quantity listed as quantity 2. When demand decreases, price decreases as well as quantity. Same thing. Quantity shifts to the left, price decreases as well. Now, if we increase supply, we're going to shift supply to the right, which shows an increase. We have our new equilibrium point, drag it across for our new equilibrium price, drag it down for our new equilibrium quantity. Now, price has decreased. So when supply increases, price goes down. When supply increases, quantity increases as well. When supply decreases to the left, new equilibrium point, new equilibrium price, new equilibrium quantity, we notice that the price increases and our quantity decreases. Now that's it for our single shifts. We still have a few other changes to go over. One might be, what happens when the price of the good increases? So all we're going to do is change the price of the good. So we're not going to change demand, it's not a change in supply. We're changing the price. So let's say we draw P2. Drag it across. There is no equilibrium at this price. There instead where quantity demanded meets and where quantity supply meets our new price. Now, what we can tell by this is that quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. So what we have here is a surplus. Quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. So we have a surplus of goods. There are more units being supplied or willing and able to be supplied than are consumers willing and able to demand the product at that price. So we have a surplus. The other situation would be is what happens if price decreases? Price 2, drag it down, here's our quantity supplied, here is our quantity demanded. So now we have the opposite situation. Quantity demanded is greater than our quantity supplied, so now what we have is a shortage. This is going to be a chart that you may want to study. It indicates what happens to price and quantity given a single shift, like we did earlier. If demand increases, price goes up, quantity goes up. If supply decreases, price goes up, quantity goes down. And this is going to help us with our double shifts. So to outline just on this chart now, let's say we have an increase in demand and we have a decrease in supply. We put these two curves together, we'll eventually kind of graph this situation. But looking at it, we can tell that price goes up when demand increases and price goes up when supply decreases. So we know then the price is going to definitely increase for this problem. Our quantity, we have one up arrow and one down arrow. We call this situation in economics when we're not given explicit numbers. We don't know for sure whether quantity has gone up or gone down, increased or decreased. So what we'd say is that quantity is indeterminate, meaning that we don't have enough information to give a more precise answer. So the answer would be for this problem if I asked, what happens to the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity when demand increases and supply decreases? The correct answer would be the price increases and quantity is indeterminate. We begin the problem the same idea from the last chart. Demand increases, supply decreases. So here's our original equilibrium point, our equilibrium price, our equilibrium quantity. Now, it might be easier, especially at first when you're graphing these, to use a different color so that you know where the new equilibrium point is going to be. Because we shift both curves, we're going to have to use both of the new curves to find our equilibrium point. So here's my new demand curve increasing to the right. My supply curve is decreasing, so it decreases to the left. And if you notice, there are lots of different points that now intersect. But what now is our new equilibrium point is much easier to find when we use a second color. So here's my new equilibrium point. Price 2. You can kind of see that depending on how I drew this graph, quantity might look like, well, it looks like it went up just a little bit. But remember, when we do double shifts, one of the answers is always going to be indeterminate. We know for sure the price has gone up. The quantity, meanwhile, you're kind of looking at it, and again, depending on how you drew it, if I drew demand increasing here, I would not be wrong. This new demand curve 3, my equilibrium point would then show that quantity decreased. But that's where the chart can help you out. Price definitely increases when demand increases and supply decreases. And our quantity is indeterminate because depending on how much you shift, one of the curve or the other, it may have an effect on what the quantity is. And we do not have enough information to give a more precise answer. Here's the completed chart for double shifting. So you can use this chart. You may want to commit this to memory or to be able to understand why, for example, the demand increase and supply decrease, that price always will go up when both those shifts happen and quantity will be indeterminate unless given more information. And when demand decreases and supply increases, price definitely decreases and quantity is indeterminate. So either memorize this, commit this to memory, or know why the arrows and the determinants are placed where they are by understanding the graphing part of it.